So my honestly, my biggest takeaway from this entire event, and this is what I experienced at Tesla while I was working there, is that Tesla's never afraid to show its hand, right? And this comes from a level of confidence that the company has in its employees and it's what it's working on. So what I noticed at least, and I'm sure everybody else has noticed, was that there was a stage full of 20, 30 people who are not salespeople, like you guys mentioned very, very, very astutely here. They're not salespeople. They're not marketers. They are engineers. They're builders. So when you think about something that gets put together and released to the masses, be it a phone, a car, a service, whatever it is, it's not the people that are selling that shit to you. It's the people that are building it behind the scenes. Tesla is not afraid to put those people in the forefront and talk about what they're doing that makes that product so special. So, like, if you're a company that's watching this presentation, like, I'm trying to put myself in the minds and in the heads of somebody that's like at a GM or a Honda or a Boston Dynamics or Meta or Twitter, wherever. This presentation touched so many points. I look at this presentation, I'm like, I wish my company did that. I wish my company had all the talent that's working on these crazy things and then just show it to the world in detail what they're working on and say, yep, this is what we're working on. This is how we're going to achieve this thing. We're going to be super technical about it. And I dare you guys to come after us, right? It shows a level of very understated confidence that I think doesn't get recognized enough. This is a company that's very confident in its trajectory towards what they're building. And the fact that they're so willing to come and spend over 3 hours, presenting this to the world super openly. And then at the end, take a wide open Q&A where none of the questions were screened. Nothing was looked after. Everybody just asked whatever questions they wanted. And if you notice, the audience was super smart. They were asking very technical questions. Hey, why aren't you doing this? Hey, how come you're approaching it this way? It wasn't like, hey, pat in the back, this was amazing. It's like, good presentation, but how come you're not doing this? How come you're not doing that? That shows that Tesla attracts a level of customer and a level of interest from people that are willing to question how the company approaches it. And the company has zero ego when it comes to this, right? They're like, okay, yeah, just ask us whatever question you want. We just want to get better. This is the formula that allowed Tesla to achieve what they have so far. And they're very plainly using that same formula to go into the next generation of the company. So for me, it doesn't matter. That was my biggest takeaway, is that the heart and the culture of the company is alive and well and strong. And they're not afraid to put themselves in a vulnerable position to be questioned about what they're doing. And they're not afraid to show their entire hand. What other company is going to come forward and show in detail what sort of technology they're working on? This does not exist. This is 17 layers of lawyers going through their technology and saying, hey, do not show this. This is proprietary information. How dare you? Tesla's like, fuck it. We're going to show this to everybody. And this is how we're going to win the race.
Right.
That was really my biggest takeaway.
Right.
I think the fact that the bot was able to come out and walk, period, when this is a thing that they were working on just last year, and it was able to come out and walk and make some movement, and they showed different videos of it. You know, again, there were videos, I get it, and they're probably pre-programmed and so on and so forth. So it kind of like reached that sort of like bottom tier level that I outlined. That's fine. That's great. So we've hit a target, but they did that in 6 to 8 months. That's the point that can't be dismissed. This was done on a very, very, very fast timeline. So if you extrapolate this out, there was a comment that Elon made later in the presentation in the Q&A section, I believe, where he said that he expects people to start receiving Optimus. You can receive an Optimus in 3 to 5 years from now, right? Yeah. So this is Elon time, right? So this is probably going to be 5 to 8 years. But that at least gives us a timeline that says that, hey, outside of what Tesla was thinking about as far as implementing Optimus within a factory setting or internally, they're expecting this solution to be ready for the regular consumer in 5 to 8 years time, or if we would take them to the word 3 to 5 years time. This is way, way faster really infinitely faster than any other company has ever been able to do this, because this never has been done before. And then you take something like a Boston Dynamics, who created a robot, I don't know, 10 years ago now, and it still is nowhere to be found for anybody to actually use. And this goes back to Elon's comment around, it's extremely difficult to make something useful, right? It's extremely difficult to make something useful. So I don't know, man. I think in the end, for the bot specifically, no one's going to get it. I really don't think no one's going to get it. And I get why they wouldn't get it. But unless you're really invested in the company and really understand what the future could hold for this technology, it's going to be hard to grasp just how transformational the way Tesla approaches engineering and manufacturing really is. And the fact, again, that they had all those freaking insanely talented people in front of a audience just asking them questions. And yeah, Elon answered like 70, 80% of them, but at least they were transparent in their methodology, speaks volumes to how confident they are in the path that they're going towards. And yeah, man, I'm very optimistic about the future of this technology. I will say that for part of what was shown, like I'll give them, if there's one point of criticism I'll give Tesla is specifically around full self-driving. Like, I think for full self-driving, we're getting to the point now where we need to see it actually become a reality in people's hands, because it's something that's been talked about for 4, 5, 6 years time. And they spent a lot of time in this presentation talking about the technical work that's going to get it to that point, which is fine, which is completely fine. But I think if there is continued improvement, let me rephrase it. There needs to be continued dramatic improvement in full self-driving to really reach that goal of level 4 or whatever, level 5, level 4 by the end of the year in at least some jurisdictions. We need to see that happen. And this presentation, to me, from that standpoint, was like, cool. So you're working on the things to get there. Let's actually see it happen. Yeah, I thought a really cool thing that I don't think, engineering and this space is really heavily male dominated, and it's at least from the standpoint of visually, like when I'm looking at the stage, it's like what, 90-95% male. But I really enjoyed the fact that a female sort of led the discussion, right? Like there was a woman that started the discussion. I think that sends a message, I think, to the ones that are out there, to people out there that are looking to join the company. It's like, hey, listen, like there's no worry about what sex you are, what gender you are. Like, we want you to work with us. If you listen to, again, I'm somebody who's not natively an English speaker. My first language was English or Spanish. Both of my parents are Iranian. I'm an immigrant. Hearing all the different accents reminded me of how diverse and merit driven the company is. Yes, it's the stage was very heavily male dominated, but that's not a Tesla thing. That's just an engineering thing. It is what it is, right? But the fact that it was female led, I thought sent a message that was really, really cool. Mm-hmm. And the variety of talent and the depth of that talent was very, very evident. I made a note on my notes that said Karpathy who. Right. And I kind of said that like in a very like joking manner to myself, because we all know Andrej Karpathy is a brilliant person, incredible asset for Tesla. The fact that he moved on, it's sucks for Tesla, but I'm very happy for him because he's able to sort of pursue his passions and what he's looking after. And I know Tesla's happy for him as well. But again, it shows that Tesla is not just a company that's out there to make they're not just trying to show their cool products. They know that it requires a certain level of expertise and talent to get there. And again, on full display, what kind of message does that send to people out there that are looking to embark on this journey? It's so weirdly different and unique from every single other company I've seen give any sort of presentation. They're so unapologetically unpolished. And they don't care about really the polished image. They're just coming forward and saying, yep, this is what we're doing. This is what it almost works to their advantage, I feel like. It's almost like a calculated thing. I feel like maybe Elon behind the scenes is like, don't waste your time with this polish and this sales shit. Mm-hmm. Let's just get out there and just deliver the message. And the ones that really care about it will join us, And being in that company, I think truly that's a strategy the company has chosen to take. and it becomes really evident in their presentation format. It's so odd to watch, and it's hard to understand unless, again, you've been invested in this story and how unorthodox the company can be from time to time.
Did you notice that Elon started off the whole presentation, though, with this thing about we're a public company? Because I think he knew that the biggest pushback might be from this. Elon the billionaire is going to own this robot workforce or army or whatever. And so he wanted to start off with, hey, this isn't RoboCop. We're a publicly traded company. You can vote me out. Like, I just thought that was very interesting that it came when it did at the very top of it.
Can I tell you why? I'll tell you exactly why I think he sent that message out there from the beginning. I think he said that because he knew he was going to share the fact that the cost of the bot was going to be under $20,000. Again, to Tesla is going to cost less than $20,000 to make in the long term. But that to me insinuates that Tesla will likely have a margin that's not going to be, let's just say, incredibly unfair to the consumer, right? So say they make 100% margin, or say they make double the amount of profit on the cost, right? So that's a $40,000 bot. They basically make 50% margin or whatever that number is. So they already have set an expectation out there that, in my opinion, and that's why he came out and said that, is that the bot's cost is going to be significantly less than labor. And the reason why he came out up front and said, hey, if we're going down the wrong direction, it's very important that we're a publicly traded company, is because he expects there to be friction from the public once this thing actually becomes a product that people can use to replace or displace labor. In my opinion, I don't think that language would have come out from Elon unless he's trying to say, hey, we're going down a direction where we think it's going to be good for humans, but we're going to allow you, the public, to potentially change our course or direction through the purchase of shares and voting rights into the direction that we're taking. That's where my head went to, because if we think about, again, I get the point of trying to balance the bot within the context of supply and demand, and not trying to get it and to get it to a point where, hey, listen, like if we can make $800,000 or $1 million on the bot, we should. But Elon, I don't think the company works in that way. And just look at the Model 3 or the Model Y. Like, they've openly said that the prices that they're charging right now for the cars are embarrassingly high, which says that, hey, like, we're trying everything in our power to get the cost down as much as humanly possible for these cars. I think the bot falls under that context. And if they've already said it's only going to cost us $20,000 to make this damn thing, and they end up charging $500,000 per bot, that is a disaster of messaging for what Tesla can be as a company in the eyes of politicians, in the eye of folks that get displaced, who then become voters that could potentially vote for politicians that are anti-Tesla, right? There's so many different dynamics that arise from this thing. So I think there's a 5 to 10 year implication to the language that Elon put out there because of how it could affect labor. Yeah, they clearly came across as a company that knew what they were doing. I think that was another big takeaway I had, is like, again, this is a reaffirmation that Tesla knows what it's doing. They are amassing the right talent to tackle extremely difficult problems head on. And like I said before, they're not afraid to be vulnerable about how they're approaching that. They want to open themselves up to the public. But the thing that, and I'm not technical in that respect, like, I had literally the middle section of that entire presentation went completely over my head. But the biggest thing that I took away from that is, like, Ford, GM, Meta, Facebook, any tech company or manufacturing company in the world would never, ever, 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 ever come out and do this presentation, because A, they would be bound by NDAs and some sort of like, oh my God, we can't share that. We're going to be afraid that other companies are going to steal that from us, you know? And Tesla's like, I don't give a fuck. This is what we're working on. If you want to steal it, go for it. Check out the talent we got here. We're going to go way faster than you are. That is profound from a company perspective. I've never seen that before. It's so weird. It's so completely weird. And I don't know. I feel extremely proud that I'm connected to this company in some way, because that's the swagger that I remember from being in that company for the time that I was there. There was just the swagger of like we do hard work. We never get thanked for it because like it's just extremely hard work, but we're proud of it, and no one's going to be better than us. So we're going to keep doing it, and we don't care. And that was on full display today. And it I don't know, man. I felt very proud, and it's I really hope it gets studied, because this is how every company should operate. And unfortunately, because of egos and politics and marketing and sales and human psychology, it's rare. But Tesla somehow miraculously has bucked that trend, and we were able to witness this in real time. And it's very inspiring, and it's different, and it feels right. It feels correct. And I think that's yet another affirmation for me that, hey, this is a special thing. It's an extension of that vulnerability, right? Again, like this is in the DNA of the leader, right? So that the leader is taking comments from his, let's just say, less than stellar physique that was in Greece, and he used that as a positive to make himself into a healthier person. Now, I don't know if it was directly connected to the Greece thing, but again, it's the DNA of take feedback as it is on face value, remove the ego, and just move forward and try to be better is embedded in the leader's DNA, which propagates through the entire company. And he's somebody that leads by example, you know, and Elon gets idolized like crazy in this community. And, you know, I can see why that's the case. And I try my best to view him as a regular person, but it's hard not to be inspired and sort of like being like, oh, holy crap. Like, this guy doesn't just talk the talk, he walks it, right? And the health thing like plays into that, you know, like it's small, but I can tell you as a former employee, like when you watch the leader of the company, not just work 16 hours a day, but also commit to his health, that delivers a message that says, hey, even I have the time to take care of myself and to improve myself. That goes a long way to, and again, improve this culture of like, hey, let's just be better. Let's get better. Let's get better. I think for people that follow the company and are investors, I think it's a great sign to see Elon happy, laughing, healthy, looking good, you know, like, poor guy kept getting picked on his freaking mic, you know, but I feel like Elon just wanted to do that because he really wanted that person to be heard, or those people to be heard. I really think it came from a good place. I don't think it came from a bad place. It came like, yo, get it up to your mouth because you got something really good to say, right? It's a very encouraging sort of thing. And that's, I think sometimes that gets that sort of tone. And that's one thing I learned when I was at the company, like that tone gets misjudged very often. It's like, wow, what a dick. Like, why would you do that? It's like, no, like he's coming from a place of like, hey, he wants his team to be heard because they have something good to say. They just don't know to put it up to his mouth. And he's going to use plain language and say, put it up to your mouth. Removes the ego. There's no emotion. It's just like, hey, this is why I want you to do this, right? So, but yeah, going back to the health thing, I thought it was great. I thought it was great, and it gives an indication that Elon's in a good place and that he's here for the long term. And ultimately, I'm just very happy to see him happy and healthy, because as a human being, I want him to be happy and healthy. You know, I want him to be around for as long as he wants to be around. So it was very encouraging. I was very happy to see him healthy. My hot take there is that I think Tesla is already miles ahead of Boston Dynamics, because Tesla is actually building something useful. Boston Dynamics is putting together a show pony that shows like, oh, look at how balanced it is. Okay, cool. But what can it do to actually improve people's lives? Nothing. Just YouTube videos, right? Tesla is actually building something that's legitimately going to be used to improve people's lives, to improve workplaces, to make something useful. And knowing the DNA of the company, that's 100% what it's going to execute on later than they should. But that's already miles ahead of any other robotics company, which means they are miles ahead of everybody else. Yeah, I don't think it's going to influence the stock at all. I think the headlines we're going to see is like, Tesla continues to push its pipe dream. Tesla whiffs on presentation. They don't really show anything. You know, new product is not even useful. They're just out there speaking a bunch of nonsense. But again, I agree with Jesse. The overarching theme of an incredibly confident company who is putting all its cards on the table and really showing what it takes to build incredible things. They're putting it out there and saying, this is what we're working on, and come join us. And if you do, be ready to take over the future. That whole theme is going to get completely lost. And honestly, I don't blame them, because those folks are focused on quarter to quarter movements. And this is not a quarter to quarter outside of full self-driving, which again it's in the state of being seen rather than being talked about. Like, we really need to see results. I really think from that perspective, it's not going to do much. So to me, it's going to be a nothing burger. It's going to be dominated by macro. Russia or Ukraine is probably going to dictate a lot more than anything else. The delivery and production numbers over the weekend are really going to influence what's going to happen in the market. So I would not expect this to do anything to the stock whatsoever on Monday. It's unbelievable. And the fact that they're going to be solving FSD in parallel with the bot, I think sends it yet another level, right? Because it's like by the time they do the next year AI, and they were talking about the monthly podcasts, dude, like that is such a brilliant idea. Like, stick a bunch of hardcore nerds and talk super in depth about what you're working on. That's brilliant. Like 100% Tesla should do that. Because again, it goes back to the whole theme around confidence about what you're working on and not being afraid to show your hand, and just being like super transparent about your methodology. Like, continue doing that to build that hype. And then by the time the next AI day rolls around next year, full self-driving should be finalized and perhaps operating in small numbers in some cities. And then that becomes a test case for, hey, wow, Tesla figured out an AI thing. Wow, this bot is actually walking and doing other stuff that's super useful. How much longer until this becomes a reality? Then you get some momentum going. So it's a long burn, man. Like it definitely is a long burn, but Tesla has been a long burn since its inception, since I really started investing since 2012, right? Like it's always the future. It's always the future. And the fact that Elon and the team continue to be focused on the future, for me as an investor, is by far the most important thing. I don't want the focus to be, oh my God, we're going to talk about for 2 hours about how we're building the most cars in the world and we're going to hit records in Q4 of 2023. I don't give a shit about that. Talk to me about where you're going to build in 5 to 10 years from now. And they went hardcore for 3 hours, 4 hours on that, dude. Like, that's unbelievable. It's incredible.